We are already in the offseason, but the New York Knicks have yet to execute a trade for a superstar. But reports are indicating that the New York Knicks are a top destination for a Raptors star. And spoiler alert, it's not OG Anunoby. We're going to break down all of this and more today. Let's get started. The New York Knicks are seen as a top destination for Raptors star Pascal Siakam. Now I know what you're thinking. OG Anunoby and the Knicks have been linked for several weeks, especially since OG recently signed with CAA. But thanks to Yozy Gozlan of HoopsHype, we now see that the New York Knicks may be a top destination point for Pascal Siakam. According to Yozy Gozlan of HoopsHype, he listed the New York Knicks as one of 4 top destinations if Pascal Siakam should be traded in a deal. According to Gozlan, the Knicks have been accumulating assets for several years, and now they are ready to cash in their chips on the right all-star. They can trade up to 4 of their first-round picks and 4 owed to them by other teams. They also have several talented young players like RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, and Quentin Grimes that could interest the Raptors in a potential Pascal Siakam trade. For me, this news is a little bit mind-boggling because for the last few weeks, all we've heard is CAA, OG Anunoby, the Knicks, and a potential trade. I don't think we've seen an actual or legitimate trade package yet from the New York Knicks for OG Anunoby. I think there have been reports that Evan Fournier picks and maybe Emmanuel Quickley or Quentin Grimes included in that trade for an OG Anunoby. I believe certain of those packages have been thrown out there, but nothing official as of yet. However, Pascal Siakam, his name has not been mentioned with the Knicks at all. He's been mentioned with Indiana, with the Dallas Mavericks, with a lot of other teams, but not really with the New York Knicks. So the reason you haven't heard much on the Pascal Siakam and New York Knicks front is because the Knicks already have their all-star power forward in Julius Randle. So they're not really looking to replace Randle at this point in time with another player. However, it is interesting to note that the Knicks are seen as a top destination point for Pascal if he's traded by the Raptors, at least according to HoopsHype. Pascal Siakam is coming off of one of his best years of his career as well too. If you take a look at the numbers, he averaged a career high 24.2 points per game this past season, making his second All-Star appearance in 7 NBA campaigns with the Raptors. So from a production standpoint, he absolutely checks the boxes and gives the Knicks exactly what we need. We need more people who can create their own shot, who can score, and not disrupt the offense. And Pascal can absolutely do that. While he does command the ball a little bit more than some other players on the Raptors, he can also play off ball as well too. He's a great slasher and cutter, but most importantly, he will give you elite defense at the 4. Right now, that's a far cry from what the New York Knicks have on defense at the 4. For all the gifts that Julius Randle gives you, and he gives you a lot of them, his defense at times is atrocious. And the hard part about this is Julius Randle can actually play defense when he wants. If you go back and you look at the COVID year, the reason he won Most Improved Player was not only because of his offense. It was because of his defense. There was one play, he shot a free throw, and then he rushed back down to play defense on the other end because that's how locked in and committed he was. Julius Randle can play defense. He just chooses not to too many times. Pascal Siakam, on the other hand, plays defense, and he chooses to play defense at an elite level each and every single night. Siakam has a year left on his deal, after which he'll enter free agency and he can go anywhere he wants. Now, recent reports have indicated that he does love the Raptors and does want to stick with them because that was the team that he was with for so many years. So I can understand that from some standpoint. But if the Raptors are looking to rebuild, it might not be up to Pascal Siakam. It might be up to Masai Ujiri. And if that's the case, Masai is going to look for a deal that makes sense. Because if he doesn't think he's going to be able to resign a player, he's going to trade that player and try to get the best deal back for that player. So Siakam, if he's not going to resign with the Raptors next year, I absolutely think he can and will be moved by the Raptors either before the season starts or by the trade deadline. But his value is going to continue to go down because of that option that he has. Because he can walk next season, he is a rental for any team looking to trade for him. So the New York Knicks are going to have to be careful and smart in regards to a trade for Pascal if they entertain it, because they should not give up the house to get Pascal Siakam. But if he is available and there is a chance he can come to the Knicks should still entertain it and look and see what it would take to get him. And if it's not going to cost the house to get him, and maybe you work out a deal underneath the table where he agrees to re-sign with the Knicks after this season, I think the Knicks should look at adding Pascal Siakam at the 4 spot, because he is an absolute upgrade from Julius Randle at that spot. Not only because of his production, but mainly because of his defense. But HoopsHype believes that Siakam and Randle could potentially be a front court for the New York Knicks at some point. But they do also acknowledge that a world does exist where the team would trade Randle in a 3-team deal or a separate transaction in order to get a player like Pascal Siakam. So that is something to note. But let me say this very clearly. If Pascal Siakam becomes a New York Knick, Julius Randle cannot be a New York Knick anymore. Because I don't think Siakam and Randle together in the front court makes any sense. While Siakam is great on defense and I'll help you in that regard, what he'll do on offense will be limited because you're going to be playing with iso ball player Julius Randle, who's going to hold the ball for 20 seconds and then pass it to Jalen Brunson with 4 seconds left and make him make a decision before the shot clock expires. We've seen this nearly each and every game he plays with the New York Knicks. It's not something surprising if you've been watching Randle on the Knicks for the last few seasons. This brings up a good point though. What potential trade package could the New York Knicks offer the Raptors to get Pascal Siakam on the Knicks next season? Well, thanks to Sports Illustrated, we now have a potential deal that the New York Knicks might be able to offer the Raptors to get Pascal Siakam. According to them, a framework of a trade including Julius Randle, Evan Fournier, and draft picks for Siakam and Chris Boucher could be something that could make a deal happen between the Raptors and the Knicks. Now, if this was the trade package on the table, I would absolutely take it, because in my opinion, you have to move Fournier, and Julius Randle is not as good as Pascal Siakam, especially on defense. You can make the argument that he's better on offense than Pascal, but you know what? For this New York Knicks team, with Jalen Brunson as its best player currently, I think adding Pascal Siakam makes a lot of sense. He fits the age timeline. He's definitely good in terms of point production, so he can give you that. You're not going to fall on that. He is an all-star as well, too. But his defense being so good is exactly what this team needs at the 4 spot. If you could get somebody with elite production like Pascal, and it's not so much of a drop-off from what Julius Randle would give you, and then you add the defense that Pascal Siakam could give you, sign me up. I would sign this deal any day of the week. The draft picks I need to look at though, because I'm not giving 5 or 6 first-round picks for Pascal Siakam, because he could walk next season. So I'm not doing that. I will give up some draft compensation in a potential deal for Pascal Siakam, but I'm not giving up all of my picks and assets for Pascal. If I can make the trade work in terms of the draft picks, this potential trade here of Fournier, Randle, and draft picks for Siakam and Chris Boucher, I am absolutely making this deal, because in my opinion, this deal makes the New York Knicks better. I don't know if it gets them into contention, but I would say this deal, if this particular package goes through and we get Siakam on the Knicks essentially to replace Julius Randle, this New York Knicks team elevates, becomes better, and I would say they're not a lock, but they're one of the main teams to look at for the Eastern Conference Finals this year if they make this trade happen. That's how impactful I believe Siakam is to any team he joins, including the New York Knicks. But putting on my real GM hat, I can clearly tell you this trade will not happen because the New York Knicks love what they have with Julius Randle and what he does. And I don't think they're going to part from him unless you get an Embiid-like trade package for Randle in return. And Siakam, as good as he is, he's not Embiid. And he's not on the level of an Embiid. So since that's the case, the Knicks are not going to trade Randle in that type of deal. I would love for them to do so, but they're not. You have a better bet and chance of seeing OG Anunoby come here either via trade or next year in free agency than you do with Pascal Siakam joining the Knicks via trade. I just don't see it happening at this point in time. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a comment below, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans. Peace.